Alright, so I wanted to make a video about this new wonderful game I've been playing called Baldur's Gate 3. I must have sunk many hours now, and I think it's pretty great. I've played the early access, and the release version is just as fun. It's got more content, pretty much everything I wanted. And I've been experimenting with a few like builds for characters and such, and I wanted to showcase like 2 or 3 of them today. Now these builds are not meant to be super optimal, but because people constantly ask like what the best or optimal party composition is, I just wanted to like show that there really isn't one. You can kind of just run whatever. So I kind of like messed around with a few like flavorful builds that I thought were interesting, and those are the builds I'm going to show. Now, be warned, in this video I am going to show spoilers for Act 2, and potentially spoilers for some side characters, items, etc. So if you're not in Act 2, please be advised. View this at your own discretion, and if you are in Act 2, then this would probably be better applied to you, and you would kind of be more familiar with what's going on. So anyway, this is Act 2, and I'm going to show you what I mean. This is my character, but that doesn't really matter. So I am going to run and grab a few of the characters I'm going to use for this video. First though, we're going to disable that. We're going to display, let's see here. We're going to grab Wyll.
Well met.
Because Wyll is a warlock, and people say warlocks are only good for Eldritch Blast. Not so, my friends, not so. We're going to grab Gale, because I did find something very interesting that he can do. And there's Shadowheart, there's Karlach that I can show. But I can also show Lae'zel. I think her build is pretty interesting. So let's go with probably Shadowheart. No. Actually, changed my mind. Let's go with Karlach.
Hey, soldier.
Hey, Karlach, come on. So, these 3 characters. So what I mean by flavorful build, I tried to keep everybody in the party sort of like their specific class without changing them too much. So like Wyll is a Bladelock, Gale is an evoker, and Karlach is a barbarian Berserker, I think. So that's kind of try to keep them as samey as possible, but I did restat them just a tiny little bit, so they're not like stock.
Let's get going.
For example, if we look at Wyll, this is his stat block. He has 8, 16, 14, 12, 20. So he has max charisma, and he has 16 dexterity because of one of his items. And Gale has 20 intelligence, and Karlach has 20 strength, and all of their stats are very even, just to not have any odd numbers. And I did that on purpose. But anyway, let's get into it. So, build number 1, and this is the one I really like because I think it's very cool. It's Wyll's Bladelock build. So, Wyll is essentially rocking no armor. He has a shield, which he can use as a human, and gives him a +2 to armor class. But the reason he has 18 armor class is because he has 16 dexterity and mage armor on. I have him get mage armor through one of the invocations, and that gives him pretty good armor class, plus the 2 from the shield, which makes 18. So pretty cool. And the reason he has dexterity is because of the graceful cloth. Now, I wouldn't keep this item on him if I could find something better, but unfortunately there's really nothing much I ran into that fits. So for now this is staying. All it does is gives him like better dexterity and like better jumping distance and whatnot, so it's not super useful. But what is useful is, because he's packed at the blade, I have the Baneful, which is a special item that allows Wyll to bind it as his packed weapon. And it's only functioning if it's bound as a packed weapon, which is kind of interesting as a restriction. He also has a shield, which is kind of like something I had on hand. It's got a special ability, which isn't great, but it's something. And because Wyll is going to be attacking in melee instead of Eldritch Blasting, the melee abilities are not too bad to have. But the main thing that makes this build interesting is this, the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. Whenever you inflict a condition, you gain Arcane Synergy. And what Arcane Synergy does is it basically increases spellcasting ability modifier. Or not, doesn't increase it, it adds it to weapon damage. Now, Wyll's modifier is 5 because he has 20 charisma. So, when that thing triggers, Wyll is doing an extra 5 damage with every melee swing. And how do you trigger it? Well, it's actually super easy, but let's get into some of the other stuff. This is the Baneful Strike. Whenever he hits with melee attack and deals damage, the target gets 1d4 penalty to saving throws, which is useful to basically, you know, do stuff to the enemy after you melee them, maybe on the next turn or with a different character. General Striding. This just means that Wyll can move around, not impeded by difficult terrain, so it's pretty good. This is a special amulet or whatever it is. All it gives Wyll is like some more spells. And as you can see, I have a ton of scrolls on him. These 2 rings are kind of important, but not super. This one basically just adds 2 acid damage to every weapon attack, and this one deals 1 to 4 psychic damage when you're concentrating on a spell. So, let me demonstrate what this means. We're gonna go right back here and get into a fight. All my characters are level 8, which is a little bit higher level for this area. So, let me demonstrate. In fact, we're gonna put Wyll front and center. Karlach.
I'm heating up.
I'm just gonna have Karlach chill for a minute. My dude can chill. Now, here's where things get funny. Let me see. Can I make it there? I don't think I can. We're gonna Hex Intelligence. Doesn't really matter too much. And we'll get to Gale later. So all the enemies are moving, and the reason I skipped the turn is just because I want them to get closer so we can attack them in melee. And it's fine because they're just going to dash into position anyway. Karlach is once again going to chill out for a minute.
Close ranks.
Some shadow stuff. Alright, so now we get to chill Wyll. Because he's concentrating, and because I used a condition last turn, he got Arcane Synergy for 2 turns, and this is the second turn where he has Arcane Synergy. Previous turn was turn 1, so he has 2 turns of it, and this is the last turn. What I can do here is utilize my Baneful Blade to attack this guy. 95% accuracy. Let's see, do I want to use this maybe? Snare your target. Nah, it's fine. So we're just going to attack. Ooh, that was a critical, okay. And as you can see, that basically took off like half health. But let's just do a generic hit to see how much damage it does. And as you can see, it's actually not too bad. And because the blade inflicts Bane, it actually refreshes Arcane Synergy. So, looking at the combat log, Baneful Strike. Okay, hit for piercing damage, so 13 piercing damage, 2 acid damage, 1 psychic damage. That's the 1d4 psychic and 2 acid. The Radiant is from a condition which I'm not sure if I'm going to have the entire game, but whatever. And this is from the Hex, which is one of the most notable spells for Warlock. And it does 1d6 potentially, it just did 1 damage. So right now, Wyll did 13 plus 2 plus 1, so 16, 17 damage for 1 hit, which isn't bad at all actually. The damage is actually a lot lower than it could be. I think on average you're going to be doing 20 plus damage per hit, which is very good actually. But let's see what this did. So this was 1d6. Yeah, it was 1d6 piercing when it was a 1, plus 5 spellcasting, plus 5. Interesting. Plus the 2, right. So because the weapon is enchanted, it's also adding 2. So that's 3 plus 5, yeah, 13 damage. So this was on the lower end, actually. And before that, it did a critical for 2d6. Yeah, also kind of on the lower end. This was maxed out, this was maxed out. Okay. 2d4, Strange Conduit. Yeah, but that's basically the build. It works very well together, especially because you can cast Bane on enemies, and because of the gloves, enemies have lower saving throws, so it just works really well. The Bane and the Baneful Strike. What else? Yeah, this guy is almost dead, so let's just finish him off. And, yeah. Why not? Will's gonna take a little step back. This is Gale. And Gale is a lightning wizard, sort of. So, there's a bunch of, like, items for wizards that add, like, lightning effects. And they all sort of work together. And for Gale, I've put a few of them together. I didn't have access to one because it's a special quest reward, and I unfortunately missed that specific item. I got something else as a reward instead, but it was the staff. But it doesn't really matter too much because this staff is actually quite good. So let's go over this stuff. So we have the Lifebringer. Lifebringers, when you have when you gain lightning charges, you also gain 3 temporary hit points. And because this build is all about getting lightning charges, this is pretty much guaranteed. Spark Wall. So basically, it gives +1 to spell save DC, which is a very good effect. Plus, you also get +1 armor class and saving throws as long as you have lightning charges. This, I believe, is actually bugged, but what it would do is that whenever you inflict lightning damage, which this build does easily, it also inflicts 2 turns of reverberation, something like that. Unfortunately, I don't think that works. But anyway, the Water Sparkers. This item is funny. So whenever the wearer stands in water, it becomes electrified, the water, and if you start to turn in an electrified surface, you gain 3 lightning charges, which works with all this other equipment that requires lightning charges. And this, if you're using a cantrip that deals all of these sources of damage, you can add your spellcasting modifier to it. And because Gale has 20 intelligence, he gets to add +5 to a cantrip, which is not too bad. Spark Wall. Now this is how the build works. Because of this item, you can't be electrocuted, which means that if you're standing on an electrified surface, you don't take any damage, and you also have resistance to lightning, which isn't that important. And this right here is whenever a foe fails a saving throw, it just means that it makes them easier to influence later. But the first thing we need to do is go here and throw this right there. Alright. And now this surface is electrified.
I can't even catch my breath.
I'm just gonna move everybody back so the other guys can get into position. Because Gale is standing on an electrified surface, funny things are about to happen. So, I can move off the electrified surface if I want to. And right now, I'm just gonna chill with Karlach over here. Alright, come on, Shadow. So, Gale has lightning charges. He has plus AC. Oh, I think I forgot to cast Mage Armor on him because I forgot to prepare it. But that's fine. Doesn't really matter too much. So yeah, from Sparkle Armor, yep. And he has plus spell save DC, which is, I believe, let's see here. Yeah, spell attack plus 9, spell save DC 18. So plus high spell casting, plus arcane enchantment, very nice. So it's basically plus 2 from the base. Anyway. So now that Gale is, like, you know, doing stuff here, I'm gonna go here and do a little lightning magic. Let's see what this does. Hey, they got reverberation. It actually worked with the lightning spell this time. Man, what does this do? Mental fatigue, yep. We got mental fatigue. Where's reverberation? Yeah, there it is. Penalty, blah blah blah. So it has penalties to saving throws, yada yada. It takes thunder damage and possibly floods. Yep. So like, it's a fun build. Like, it's not like super powerful or anything, but it's just fun. Like it has a certain flavor to it that I think is really cool. So now we're gonna use this dude, Wyll. Let's see. So he has 2 turns of arcane synergy. We're just gonna use him. Saved, dead. Did he apply it? Yep, he's got his arcane synergy back.
Where do I go?
My character is gonna take care of this guy, and then ooh.
The blade will not bend.
All right.
Dice roll in my favor.
And now, I did mention that you get your what is it called? Your attribute bonus to damage to a cantrip, and that's certainly something that you can do. Like if you're running out of spells, you can just throw cantrips. But it has to be like a specific damage type. So unfortunately, this does not work with Eldritch Blast because Eldritch Blast is not one of the things that this amulet uses. It's only acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. So yeah, unfortunately, Eldritch Blast would not work. Otherwise, you could potentially give this to Wyll or like another warlock and do fun stuff with that. And then finally, we're gonna showcase our last character set up. Hey, what the heck? And I'm sure you've probably seen this build somewhere, but it's the overpowered brawler build where you're just throwing stuff. And I gave Karlach like all the stuff to make this happen. She has, well, this doesn't actually matter. This doesn't actually matter either. This increases her AC and saves, but this increases her strength to give her that oompha. This gives more throwing damage. This just increases jumping, more throwing damage, and more protection. So, check this out. And if you've not seen this, just look how much damage this does. Yeah, that's how much damage it does. And also, it adds your strength to the attack roll as well, like an extra strength to attack roll, so it makes it super accurate. Absolutely broken. But what I like this build for isn't that particularly, but the fact that I get to do this. Now, if that was an enemy, I could have thrown the enemy into it, but unfortunately you can't throw shadows, and we didn't have anybody else close enough, so I just threw my main character. But yeah, that's Karlach, and she can also run really far. Hey, that's not very nice. Alright, I don't know how to find that shadow.
The witching hour.
But let me show you this, maybe. Not this. This. Boop. Whoa, that did a shit ton of damage. Whoa, what the heck? That was a firebolt. So 20 fire damage. Let's see, how did that work? 2d10 fire plus 5 spellcasting, yep. Oh, it actually rolled max damage, almost. Yeah, 15 plus 5, yep, makes sense. So it was hit for lightning damage. Okay, so Lightning charges plus intelligence modifier. What? What the heck? I actually didn't know this was possible. Holy crap. This is crazy. I think that's because I expended all my charges. Yep, I expended all the electricity charges. So if you get like enough of them, whenever you make an attack, it like uses them to do like a lot of damage. And I think that's what this was. Let's see, 20 fire damage, 6 lightning damage, 12 lightning damage. How did they come up with this number? Did it add the 5 spellcasting? I'm so confused. Because I think this was from the 1 damage I do for having lightning charges, and this was for rolling 1d8 plus 5. Wow, that's crazy. So, let's go here and see how that works. Maybe it was the reverberations? I'm so confused, honestly. Let's look at lightning charges. I think it has to do with that. So if you gain 5 charges, they're consumed the next time you deal damage, and you deal an additional 1 to 8 lightning damage. Yo, that's how that happened. That's how that happened, and it actually added the... So this was the 1d8, this was the 1. So you use the fire damage, yep. Okay, so this was the 1 extra damage from just having lightning charges. Whenever you attack something while you have lightning charges, plus the 5 from spellcasting modifier, and here I must have rolled an 8, and yeah, that's probably what happened. That is crazy. Now I kind of wish I had the staff to gain lightning charges quicker, because that would make a cantrip-based build pretty viable. But yeah, like I said, it's an interesting, neat little build that actually works pretty dang well together. And of course, Karlach is still OP with the throwing thing, but that's just it. Everybody can be super OP in this game, only if you like do certain things. But yeah, I think Wyll is probably my favorite build, just because of how interesting that whole arcane synergy is with a melee class, plus the baneful striking, plus this, the baneful. So yeah, just wanted to show that. I might do a follow-up where I show Lae'zel, Shadowheart, and Astarion, the other 3 characters, but that'll be for another day. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Enjoy.